really excited to share these guys with you. It's the Owens Birkenstock collaboration. I was really excited when this was announced. Birkenstock being one of my favorite shoes, Owens being one of my favorite designers. So naturally, I was inclined immediately to purchase a piece. I did go for the version that I thought was truest to his concept and truest to his design aesthetic. I went with the brown felt version, which I read in an article, based it off Joseph Beuys, the famous artist, which was known to incorporate a lot of military felt into his sculptural work, into his performance pieces, and was very famously known for that. He also decided to keep the original designs from Birkenstock, so he respected the original Boston and the original Arizona styles and just pretty much altered the pieces very subtly and focused mostly on materials and play with proportions. So it comes in the classic Owens pull box with a little classic Owens dust bag, and these are the Birks. So as you can see, brown felt. The big difference from the classic Boston to the Owens Boston clog is the elongated strap, which comes all the way down to the sole and pretty much kisses the floor when you walk. He also talks very fondly of the perforations that go all the way down the strap. He believes that is confection enough. He really wasn't fond of the idea of being invasive with patterns or exotic leathers. He wanted to keep the shoe very elemental, very basic, very practical, which is the core value of Birkenstock. And I also think it's the core ideal in a lot of Rick Owens' work, is to stay very elemental, almost based on very brutal sort of prehistoric architecture, patterns and cuts that are just very elemental. This is the classic Birkenstock felt in the gray. I've had these for quite a while, so the color is now a little darker and a little different, but as you can see, the quality in felt is not necessarily better in the Rick Owens. I can't really judge that, but the quality is definitely different. So has different textures, has slight tones of taupe, gray, black, but predominantly brown. The other big difference in the Rick Owens collaboration is the sole itself. The original Birkenstock Boston has an exposed cork sole, as opposed to the Rick Owens collaboration, which has an all suede sole. It's also a little bit thicker. If you notice, the strap is also thicker, and the buckle. The buckle is different on all the Rick Owens version or designs. The Rick Owens buckle is dull and opaque and with a slight texture, almost like a spray paint texture, as opposed to the classic Birkenstock buckles, which are usually a weathered metal, however reflective. As you can see the inside, I'm a 43 narrow. That is what works for me. I'm usually a soft bed kind of guy, but Rick Owens did not do the soft footbed. I'm not sure if that was a design decision or what was the concept behind that, but the other big difference between the original and the collaboration is also the dual layer. The top part is the top layer is felt. The inside is lined in suede, which creates a thicker material. The original is one big piece of felt. So yeah, that is the Rick Owens Birkenstock. I also have one of the classic Boston Mules. This is a soft footbed. As you can see, same. I do think the clog is highly overpriced for being a Birkenstock shoe, regardless of the collaboration with Rick Owens. However, for collectors, for people who are attracted to conceptual work and people who follow Rick Owens, I think it's definitely worth at least grabbing one pair and then maybe in resale buying them for a little cheaper. I couldn't resist, so I went ahead and I bit the bullet on the price. I do recommend you circumventing the American retailers. Unfortunately, they are twice the price than you would get them in maybe a Canadian retailer or a European retailer. So if you can get them that way, that would be awesome. I bought these straight from Rick Owens because I really couldn't find another retailer that would carry this specific material in the Arizona or the Boston, which is the felt. I found the other materials, but I was most attracted to this one again because I felt like it was the most or the truest to his original intent and the richest as far as concept. I think Rick Owens is a very intellectual designer, and I think Birkenstock is a very practical company. And for me, I'm personally attracted to the Birkenstock shoe both aesthetically and because of comfort. I do think that a lot of people can't seem to wrap their head around the Birkenstock trend or the Birkenstock attraction. I think it's definitely more of a shoe for very practical people who are not very interested in necessarily pretty things or don't necessarily expect fashion to be for a purpose other than attraction or attraction of the opposite sex. I think it's for people who takes clothing a little more both hold it up and at the same time don't care for it. So I think it's a shoe that kind of grows on you, and it's a shoe that is not pretty, but I think it pushes you to the edge where it's so unattractive that at the same time it is attractive, and goes right in the line with a lot of the core values that I have as far as aesthetic and presentation. Anyways, I digress from that. I do want to talk a little bit about the socks. I wear them with the classic Birkenstock fashion socks. If you haven't tried these yet, please do. Even if you don't buy a pair of Birkenstocks and you're completely opposed aesthetically to Birkenstocks, I highly recommend the Birkenstock socks. They are a poly blend. However, they've mastered the blend. It is the most comfortable sock you will ever wear. And that is really, really not an exaggeration. I really do highly recommend these. I personally think they look really cool with Birkenstocks. You can wear the Birks with or without socks. This is more of a wintertime kind of deal. And it also helps protect the insole of your Birkenstock. Rick Owens did collaborate with them and made an $80 version of the same exact sock. The only difference is that it was slightly elongated so it goes over your knee. I wouldn't recommend that unless you're hardcore trying to buy the entire concept and into the brand. If you look in the details of the collaboration, it's the exact same material, exact same sock. Only exception is that instead of the little Birkenstock logo, it says Rick Owens on the side, and once again the length is severely elongated. But $18 for the classic sock, I definitely think it's a steal. Aside from that, they come in this giant tote bag, which Rick Owens is known for shipping his shoes in, which I think is really cool but not important to the product whatsoever. But yes, I highly recommend not purchasing necessarily, if it's not your thing to purchase them, but I do definitely recommend you maybe reading on Birkenstock a little more, reading on the collaboration. I think it was a really, really outstanding collaboration. I think his design is so subtle and sophisticated. I'll be wearing these bad boys, to the Bay Area. I can see them both dressed up and dressed down, not necessarily for a dinner, but definitely for social occasions, perfect to walk galleries in, and perfect to shop in, both groceries, clothing. So yeah, the Rick Owens Birkenstock collaboration.